I'm with Marsha. Hello, Marsha.
Hello, Phil. You're right.
We'll do this again. I had no battery power. I just wanted to catch up about TED, so we've gone over this. We'll do it again.
Yep.
Great day for you.
Amazing day.
Loads of contacts.
Loads of brilliant contacts. Loads of great opportunities.
How do you shape that now? What do you do with that? I mean, you've got people coming up saying, "Yeah, I want to help."
Just following up. It's just building those personal relationships. It's getting in contact with people that said get in contact, and then just really digging into what they say they can do. Like I've had opportunities for funding, so it's just looking at what's the best stream of funding, who's the least likely to distort my vision, who's least likely to interfere, so that they can get their own stats up. I want some particular types of input, and so I'm sort of picking through those, and just things like the logistics with the supermarkets around here. You know, how we get a pickup schedule set up, disclaimers, indemnity, liability, all those sorts of things. So it's just digging into it and just really sort of getting it, the nitty gritty sorted out. But which actually, again, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible.
And one bit to throw in there is that, you know, this is a drip feed kind of thing that will be going for the next couple of years, right?
Yeah, I'm beyond that. It's not it will have short-term effects, but the real issue is long-term normalisation of social eating, which I really see is the only way to really affect sort of long-lasting change in the people that who need it the most. Do
you think the reason why a lot of these things don't happen is because funding works for like 18 months and then it falls apart? Or?
Yeah, well, it's not so much that it falls apart, but it's that people, any funders are doing so because they have an agenda and they have their own targets to meet. So they give you their money, but only under specific conditions. And sometimes people are so keen to get the project going that it's like a flower that the light keeps moving. It will just keep growing towards it, and sometimes it distorts the original vision. But also there's lots of other stuff that then happens with funding, that you have to satisfy the funding criteria, which can mean a whole sort of like ream of administrative stuff and, you know, demonstrating outcomes and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, generally funding is for the short term, and they want to show short-term results, especially if it's linked to any sort of political sort of agenda, which again is a 3-year policy within Nottingham. Right. So again, but there are ways around it, and again, I'm happy to demonstrate outcomes, but what I'm really looking for is a specific type of funding, and that's what I'm going to hold out for, because like I said, one way or the other I'll get it going. Yeah. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, and there's so much goodwill behind it, it can't not get going, but it has to be on my terms. Yeah. Because I've worked within that field for the last few years, and I can see how I want it to be. It's my idea, so I want to drive it forward in the way that I see fit.
So, a lot of people won't know, but for the last 2 or 3 years I've been trying to build this off-grid something, like a stable house for Ella that I can leave. And the intention is at least 15, 20, 25, at a push 30 years, that this thing can stand without having to be either repainted or new roof on it. The problem I'm hitting is land, is it comes down to land, and people freak out, you know, wooden ark, I don't know what it looks like, or a shipping container. It's really difficult in the UK to pull that off. Now, we've had conversations obviously at our cheese apocalypse nights, which is you put in nights on at your house where we all, me, CJ and Dan, come round and watch an 80s cheesy film and eat fromage till it comes out of our heads. You started talking about a place in Spain that your friends or friends of people that you know, they're doing it already. Tell us a little bit about the place and what they're doing there. Right,
okay. The region's called Extremadura. It's in southern Spain. It's an inland region. It's generally a very poor region, a very underpopulated region, but it's a really, really ancient region with a hugely sort of untouched ecosystem. My friends used to run Alicaf, and they also used to run Squeak restaurant, and they also ran Leaf, which is an interior decoration and interior design business with two of my friends, Becky Hancock and Martin Vicker, otherwise known as Martin Mooch. Basically, they're friends of the family, especially Martin, and quite a few years ago they'd started looking around in Spain. Becky speaks Spanish, and they've been looking around in Spain to buy some property. Now they bought a couple of properties and were renovating them, and they also bought a piece of land there with the intention to build a house on. They've got planning permission, it's got electricity, water, it's got a well, it's got woodland, it's got an orchard. It's a fantastic piece of land. But what happened was then some friends said, come and have a look at this farm, it's going up for sale. And they were like, we haven't got any money, we've got land, we've got 2 properties we're doing up. But they said, no, come and look at it honestly. They looked at it and they were like, we've got to buy this place. Basically, it used to belong to a German couple that were foster carers, and they used to bring children over from Germany and foster them there, and I think a couple of their kids were adopted there as well, because they saw the huge benefit of getting troubled kids out of shitty situations and plonking them down in the middle of absolutely nowhere in fantastic countryside and just letting them sort themselves out. And I can completely see the sense in that. But what happens, the laws changed, they had to move back, this farm went up for sale. I think they bought it at half price, and basically they got this fantastic deal, and they've basically set up an organic farm on there, an artisan sort of produce,
marmalades, oils, and all sorts,
marmalade, liqueurs, all this sort of stuff. But Martin is DJ, he's like an interior designer, he's a really sort of really hard-working, on it person. Becky's a language teacher, they're both all into food. And so basically they bought a farm out there, and I started going out to see them there. Probably like 2 or 3 years ago, going to the WOMAD Festival, which is a free festival that's on in Cáceres every year.
Yeah.
Again, I've travelled through Spain really widely. All through my 20s, I've always been going to Spain. I absolutely love the culture. But the place where they live is just magical. It's absolutely incredible. So it's like Derbyshire, but hot, which again, it's mosses, lichens, beautiful woodland, craggy rocks, caves, lakes. It's like something from, you know, a film. It's absolutely incredible. It's got a real energy of its own.
So what would you do there? So from a food perspective, what would you say for instance we managed to, because I'm in the process at the moment trying to raise that money, just to go, I want to put, because as soon as I saw planning permission I was like, okay, I'm getting an arc, I'm going to go take there, and all the bits fit in place, you know, being able to get on a plane from East Midlands, which is like bus ride from the middle of the city, 3 hour flight, 4 hour drive. 3 or 4 hour drive,
a beautiful drive through lovely countryside, you know. And you know, it's
so
you can feel yourself unwinding as soon as you get there. What would I do? What for
with the land?
What would I do for the land? Yeah. Well, like years ago, when I first came across it, I wanted to buy it, but I just didn't have enough capital. And what I wanted to do was build a house on it, just like that. A sort of a sustainable eco house, relatively cheap to put up, in keeping with the natural landscape, and really just maximise on the views, on the fertile land that's there. I mean, there's loads of this. It's a subsistence farming region, so it was like its neighbour Portugal. It's on the border of Portugal. Families for centuries and thousands of years have been living sustainably there through just subsistence farming, and a little bit beyond that. You know, it tells me that you can do it there. You can have that lifestyle. So they've got an organic farm. They have woofers, which are like organic volunteers that come every summer to help them out with the farming in exchange for bed and board. Wow. And they've always that's how they manage their land, because they've got a lot of land. They've got a lot of farmland. But basically, it's I would be doing food stuff there. But what I really wanted to set up was some sort of like, it sounds a bit twee, but like a retreat space where people would just come, because it's such an enormous landscape, and it's so old, and it's so much of its own energy there that it forces you into its own time scale. You can go there with this very busy sort of grid head where you're in the city and you're doing all these different things. You can still get a mobile phone signal there, but actually the landscape is so powerful, and the whole energy and feeling of the place is so strong. You have to conform to nature. You can't bend it your way, and actually your sense of time slows down and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a very, you know, again, it can ground in. We sort of say it's a meditative space, but again, that's got lots of connotations. But I would have certainly liked to have opened up a space where people could just come and just be themselves and just relax and really get focused on what it was they wanted to do. And I always think, some ways, there's always the history within human culture of the retreat, the hermit, those spaces where you can go and just be away from everything that's distracting and just really listen to that internal voice, which is a huge guide. And in that type of landscape, it's very easy to tune into that. But Spain's wicked. Like, they stay up all night, they're sleeping during the day, they have siestas, they eat really well, they're really well connected in terms of family, they've always got time for each other, they're really sexy, hot, funny culture, and actually they're great. It's a great place to be. And actually, in terms of their work-life balance, Spaniards have got it, you know, we've got it hugely well in this country. They've still managed to hold on to a lot of their indigenous way of doing things, which again is a lot to do with the climate and the temperature, all sorts of stuff. However, what I would have liked to set up is, I don't know, maybe a space where people could come and all sorts of stuff, artist stuff, just thinking stuff, spending time stuff, just to reconnect to themselves so they can get back into the real world.
With the size of the land, we've been thinking about a TEDx on that land.
Yeah, that would be...
You know, like literally invite people out to that land and have a stage and sort of have like shipping containers and build it up and turn it into like a creative space. I just needed some land with planning permission with something that worked in terms of, this is actually near the end game idea of if I'd have got the ark, ultimately at some point after spending a year with Ella in it, I wanted to ship it somewhere. This is actually accelerating that whole plan and saying, actually, I'm just going to put it there and we'll fly us there
but also
for like 10 days.
That people can come. I just think from what I take from your idea is it's about creating this space where, well, my vision, it would have been, in terms of interpretation of what you're saying, is a space where you can both be simultaneously connected but also be away from stuff enough to really think about why you want to be connected, what's important to being connected, what's the quality of your connection, what it is that you're actually trying to achieve. Also, how can you be of use and of service? And actually, I think sometimes you need, this is why we've got the history of sort of like the hermit in our sort of like cultural language, is that taking time out to just really connect. And again, it's if the theme was connection, and connection as a parent and a child, or as all sorts of different forms of connection. It's like you need to have space to let that connection happen, to let it actually just happen, as opposed to just trying to force it to happen, scheduling things in. You know, it's about being connected in terms of like having all that, and especially for our children, it's like having all those digital resources, having all those, that ability to have mass communication, much more immediate communication, but to not, for children to have, for us as well, to have space to just, you know, and a landscape which basically forces you to do that in a very peaceful way. So to me, it's that perfect balance, and I think that's what you've been looking for.
Yeah.
You know, the only reservation I have is it's a way off. It's not too far away, but I think if you want to sell it, I think you need to think about how it can move beyond just you and your daughter's relationship into something which is far more inclusive and manifested, and I think Ted would be. I
kind of see this not being a solution for the connection that me and Ella will work on over the next 2 or 3 years. I kind of see this as as an exercise in doing it, where it's a warmer climate, where I can go over there for 10 days at a time, come back and forth.
And maybe
you can go over there.
Absolutely,
well, you go over 10 days at a time.
Crowd, it's like, let them go out there and almost be a space where people can
chip away and do a bit.
Yeah, but also people can come and just connect with themselves, and then blog it and let it get out there. And actually, it's like creating a space for people to just come and be
That's
themselves,
exactly what I want.
whilst it's still. It's the best of both worlds as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I want to be able to sort of prove that it can be done there on that land, so that I can go to farmers in Derbyshire, where my daughter is and going to be for a long time because of the schools, and say, that's what I did in Spain on that land. Have you got a piece of land? I can prove it worked.
So in terms of Martin and Becky's, you know, what they've done outside there is that they've gone and they've really integrated. And they've made the most of what they've got, and they've really, you know, they've got the language, and he was teaching DJ courses, CAD courses, doing all sorts of bit stuff. You know, they've got Womad, he's been DJing at Womad, he's been doing, you know, they're just real grafters. They really got stuck in. But also, in terms of actually, they're slow down and they're incredibly welcoming. They're great hosts, and lots of people go out there. But there's Womad in Extremadura. They have a Contemporary. They have a pop festival every year. And if once you get to Albuquerque, which is the nearest town, it's like the fact that they have a pop festival every year. How the hell did they manage to do it? It's in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
But again, it's got this great energy. So actually, people want to come there. There's all this, and also in that region of Spain, because basically there's naffle to do. Ordinarily, people create all these different things. So you've got they have medieval festival every year, and they even use medieval currency. They have a pop festival every year. Nearby, they have a wine and chestnut festival. They've always got loads of parties and fiestas. There's all loads of stuff going on, self-created by the community, and which has been perpetuated for hundreds of years. So you've got this really, really strong community there, which when you actually come into that space, it's like it's really welcoming. And I think for what you're trying to achieve, it would fit really well. But also, it really is. It's near enough to not be out in the middle of absolute nowhere. It's connected. You know, you can fly to Sevilla, or you can fly to Lisbon, whatever. You can fly to Faro and drive up, or you can fly to Madrid and drive down. But it's far away enough that you can't fake.
No,
you have to switch off. You have to involve yourself with the landscape. You have to do it.
Well, I kind of see it as well, because it's quite far away from a lot of heavy duty connectivity. From my perspective, sitting up a satellite or microwave link to something 150 miles away is exciting, because as a creative space, being able to pull people in there's actual competitions to see who can get a signal the furthest distance on the lowest power. Now, stuff like that.
If you can send it from bloody Albuquerque Castle, where you're hundreds of metres up, and you can literally see for hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Oh, you can do it.
It's just cork forest. That's why they had that's why it's a region of castles.
Yeah.
Basically, huge flat plains with huge, really old woodlands on it, and then big sort of like little mountains with castles on them. It's a really, it's to keep the moors out.
You can absolutely do it. You can absolutely. There's teams of people who actually compete to do it on like the lowest watt.
Or strap it to a vulture, and then just like get it to lift it up. You get these massive vultures that he'd fly over. You're like, oh, what the hell is that? That's some sort of pterodactyl.
He's bringing the internet with him. Right, be like got cities of gold. One of the things about that's a funny story actually. There's a guy in France who was so annoyed with his internet provider, he actually strapped a USB stick to a pigeon, a homing pigeon, and sent it to the company and said, that's faster than your internet. Okay, awesome. I just wanted to catch up about it. I wanted to put this video up on the page. We will catch up with you.
Photos and stuff as well, and some
people can find you from searching Marsha Smith Secret Kitchen
Cafe
in Sneinton. Come down, awesome food, and also if you've got any other services or provisions, or you actually saw any of the TEDx videos, if you didn't see it, tedxlacemarket.org, and all the videos with Marsha and everybody else will be on there soon. Thank you, Marsha.
Thank you, Felipe.